Okay, guys, finishing up our Unit 2 here, which is a quick review over some integer issues, or matters of arithmetic with integers. Dividing integers. So remember, every division can be written as a multiplication. So if I've got a over b, that's the same as a times 1 over b. So the rules of multiplication are the same as the rules for division. So if I've got a quotient of a over b, that's the same thing as setting up as multiplication. So if both numbers are positive, I get a positive. Both numbers are negative, I get a positive. And if the numbers are mixed, I will also get a negative. Now, if I look at this, a machine drill is used to access water under the ground. If the machine drills the same distance every day and the drill is 160 feet below the ground after 4 days, how far did it go each day? So it was 160 feet, okay, and it was for 4 days. So if I divide that out, I get 40 feet per day. So it goes 40 feet every day. Now the thing about a division is, if you look at this quotient, 18 over 2 is 9 with a negative number out front. This is negative 18 divided by 2. So it's the same as 18 over 2. There's one negative sign. This is also negative 9. Negative 2 into 18. This is 18 over 2. There's one negative sign there. And sometimes we just put the negative sign in front of the whole fraction. All these are equivalent, okay? Typically in textbooks and in writing, we write a fraction this way. We put the negative in front of the entire fraction, but it works in any of these situations. If you look at this, decide up front. This is a negative number. 16 over 4 is 4. This will be a positive number. 56 divided by 6 is 8. This will be a negative number. Negative 10. This will be a negative number. Negative 6. Now we've already talked a little bit about dividing by 0, but let's revisit again. So again, suppose you have one pizza and you divide it into 2 pieces, okay? I end up with 2 pieces. Each size is 1/2 of the pizza. So I could take those 2 pieces, put them back together, and I have one pizza. Okay, so that's division. You divide it into 2 pieces. The 2 pieces come back together to make the whole. Suppose I have 0 pizza, okay, and I divide it into 2 pieces, okay. 0 over 2 is 0. The 2 pieces are size 0. When I put those 2 pieces of size 0 back together, I have 0 pizza, okay, that works. Where it falls apart is in this one. Suppose I have 1 pizza and I divide it into 0 pieces, okay, 1 divided by 0, we think it's undefined, but let's just explain it. Okay, if I divide it into 0 pieces, no matter what size there is no way to take 0 pieces of anything and get back to 1 pizza. So you cannot divide by 0. So you can't divide it into 0 pieces because the 0 pieces will never be able to come back together to create the whole that you started with. So just remember, for any number A, when you divide a number, 0 divided by A is always 0. So 0 on the top will give you 0, but anytime you have 0 on the bottom of a fraction, that is undefined. Okay, so you can divide into 0 to get 0, but you cannot divide by 0. So in this particular case, 0 is in the numerator, that is 0. This is 5 over 0. The only word for this is undefined. 0 over 0 is not 0, it is undefined. Anytime there's a 0 on the bottom of your fraction, it's undefined. This one is 0, as long as A is not 0. Now rates show up a lot when we compare 2 different units of measures. If you travel 75 miles in 2 hours, so 75 miles in 2 hours, when you divide 75 by 2, that is 37.5 miles per hour. Or we typically write that one 37.5 miles per hour. So for full credit on a problem like this, you need 2 things. You need the number part and you need the units. It's 37.5 miles per hour. If you fall 24 feet in 2 seconds, 24 feet, 2 seconds, this is 12 feet per second. Let's talk about dividing rational numbers and dividing fractions. When you think about 10 divided by 5, you're going to take 10, and you're saying how many 5s can you fit in 10? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 2 5s in 10. Okay, so 10 divided by 5 is 2, because if I break it up in each unit being 5, I can only do that twice. Let's think about dividing by 1/2. How many 1/2s are in 2? So here's 0, 1, and 2. So if I divide it into 1/2, here's a half, here's a half, here's a half, and here's a half. So it's clear there are 4 halves in 2. Well, I can turn this into multiplication. 4 times 1/2 is equal to 2. Now, the important thing is when we're dividing by a fraction, a over b divided by c over d. So the easiest way to remember this is when you're dividing, turn it into multiplication. Dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. Okay, so if I look at the other one that we previously did, if you multiply the reciprocal of 1/2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So I can turn the division into multiplication. So in this case, a over b divided by c over d is the same as a over b times d over c. So all you do is, instead of dividing by this number, you multiply by its reciprocal. You may have heard keep, change, flip. You're okay to use that. I don't typically use that phrase. I just say you turn the division into multiplication, multiplying by the reciprocal. Suppose a rain barrel's volume of water decreases by 4.58 gallons every 4 minutes. What's the change after 1 minute? So 4 5/8 gallon every 4 minutes. So I need to divide 4 5/8 divided by 4. So this is what? 32 plus 5, 37/8 divided by 4. That's 37 over 8 times the reciprocal, 1/4. So that's 37 over 32. So that tells me after 1 minute, so it's 37 over 32 gallons in 1 minute. A complex fraction is one in which the numerator or the denominator or both of themselves are fractions. So this is 2/3 divided by 4/5. Turn it into multiplication. That's 2/3 times 5/4, which is 10 over 12, or 5 over 6. The next one's going to be a negative number. This is, if I convert it to improper fractions, this is 7/5 divided by negative 1/5. That's 7/5 times negative 5 over 1. So this is what? Negative 35 over 5, which is negative 7. This one is mixed, so as to go to fractions, this is 7/10 divided by negative 7/6. This is 7/10 times negative 6/7. The 7's cancel. This is just negative 6/10, or negative 3/5. Let's look at this example. Water drains steadily out of a lock to lower a boat's level from one to another. What is the boat's change of position in each minute? So it went 3 feet in 4.5 minutes. So 3 feet in 4.5 minutes. So this is 3 divided by, that's what, 9/2. That is 3 times 2/9, which is 6/9, or 2/3. So that tells me that it changes 2/3 feet in 1 minute. Kevin played a trivia game. Each correct answer is worth 2 1/4 points, and each incorrect is negative 1/2 point. What was his score? So he got 15 correct, and he got 2 1/4 points for each of those, and then 15 wrong, and we lost 1/2 point for each of those. So this is 15 times 9/4 minus 15 times 1/2. So if I look at 9 times 15 is what, 90 plus 45, 135 over 4 minus 15 over 2. Common denominator is going to be 4 here. So this is 135 minus 30 over 4, which is 105 over 4. So the score would be 105 over 4, or that is what, 21 and 1/4. Temperature at 4 o'clock was 2.5 degrees. It dropped 0.75 for each hour for the next 4 hours. What was the temperature at 8? So it was 2.5 degrees, and it went down by 0.75 every hour for the next 4 hours. So this is 2.5 minus, so 4.75 is just going to be, what is that, 3? So this gives me negative 0.5 degrees Fahrenheit.